But Hayao really likes to squeeze in panels. It can get pretty busy. Hi, my name is Jasmine. I'm an illustrator and welcome to my channel. So I've entered a phase in my comic making process where it's kind of exploratory and research based, so there's really not much structure I can work around in terms of making these vlogs. And by structure I mean where there's an end goal and that goal is finalized at the end of each video. So instead, what I'm gonna do during this time is more of a weekly vlog, just to share what I do for the week. I did it for NaNoWriMo and it was a lot of fun, and frankly it's a lot easier to edit down. So I know this is strange, but the day that we're starting this weekly vlog is Wednesday. I didn't really get to vlog that much yesterday, but I can give you a quick recap. So where I'm at in my medieval comic Girl Nights progress is I've finished writing the first draft, and now I'm in the phase where I need to figure out what the actual comic style is going to look like. And in doing that, I have redrawn the first page a bunch of times with digital pencil brushes on Clip Studio Paint. And so I've pretty much spent like maybe 3 weeks now redrawing that page in a slightly different way, using different screen tones, seeing if maybe cross-hatching would work, and hence why it's been a little bit difficult to vlog the process, because I don't really know what the end result is technically going to look like quite yet. So yesterday I tried out this new brush that I downloaded from Clip Studio Paint's database, and it's pretty awesome. And then a second iteration with one of their default pencil brushes, and then I used a tapered pencil brush because I really liked the texture of it. But I had a feeling that the line width was too thick, so that once it printed out it just looked awkward. And now this is the new version. And so yesterday I was able to draw the new version with that new pencil brush, and I think I really like it. I think it's a winner, you guys. I think. How I realized that that tapered pencil wasn't going to work was, and I would recommend doing this when you're starting out working on a comic, print out your page so that you can actually see it in physical form in the size that you intend to print it as. So in my case, here's what it ended up looking like. Another reason why it's extremely important to print it, especially if you're using screen tones, is to see how the printer is going to handle these screen tones. It's very easy to have the Moore effect happen, and obviously we don't want that. And that's precisely what occurred with this page, and I'm very glad that I printed it to test it out so that I definitively know that technique is not going to work in my case. I'm gonna have to continue to explore other digital screen tones so that I don't get this problem, or just not even use screen tones and color it in with gray. But I would rather use screen tones, so I'm gonna give it one more go and see how we can make it work. If not, obviously just color it. But it is very important that you print it, and now that it is in the accurate size, I can see what that line width is going to look like when it's compressed, and I didn't like it. So the new drawing has been made with a thinner brush, more stabilization, a different screen tone. Once I get access to a printer, I'll be able to reprint it, because my printer is not working now. It literally stopped working last week when I tried to print these samples. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna get a new printer or see if I can fix it. I kind of don't want to deal with it right now. On top of trying out that new pencil brush yesterday, I also went on a date night with the husband, and we went to see the Craftwork show. It was awesome. Here are some clips. So what we have for today is to continue to draw another page with that new pencil brush and continue to see how it is. It's really important to try out the brush by drawing a lot of different things, backgrounds, objects, different people. You shouldn't just draw the characters that you want to draw. You should draw the things that you don't want to draw and see how that goes, because that's where all the awkward spots are really going to come out. And truly focus on where can you really mess up so that you can avoid that, because once you decide on a style, that's it. You're gonna have to stick to it for the rest of the comic project. So this stage, however monotonous, mundane, or boring it is really, really important. And sometimes I do feel the weight of that importance, and I get a little scared because whatever I decide now, I'm gonna be stuck with for probably 2 years working on this project. So it is a little mind-blowing. My goals for this week are going to be to draw as many pages of chapter 1. Obviously I need to put more structure on that because there's, I believe, 19 pages in chapter 1, and I don't think I'll be able to draw them all this week. So maybe 6 pages. Maybe we'll put just 6 pages as our goal this week. To continue, I'm going to work on page 3. It's 2 o'clock. I've been drawing these comic pages for about 5 hours, I think, plus like a lunch break and everything. And I've drawn about 2.5 pages. I don't think that's a bad pace, but I'm going to take a break by making more coffee and editing a little bit of vlogging stuff, and then we're gonna jump into thumbnailing. I don't really want to see the screen until probably tomorrow. Another random thing crossing our street. What is that? Doors? And there he goes. It's 6:30. I finished editing next week's vlog. I also cleaned the bathroom and did some other chores. And I just transferred my comic file from my computer to my iPad. I love Clip Studio Paint's cloud capabilities. I can switch between computer and iPad like nothing. So I'm gonna go back to drawing the comic on the couch. I also wanted to show you these new Apple Pen nibs that I got a while ago. I haven't been able to use them that much. I like to keep my nibs in this thing. So this is the original nib for an Apple Pen. It's this round, soft plastic ending. And the one that I recently got has more of a metal tip. And I've already tested it on the iPad screen, and I have a paper-like screen cover on it, and it hasn't scratched it. So let's try this one out instead. said pier, right?
To be able to walk out 25 feet and know there's going to be fish.
Is
This is where I start driving. Awesome.
that worth it?
Should have gone out a little further.
Good morning. It's Thursday and we have to turn in my car to get it maintained or whatever. So that means I have packed my bag with all of the things that I need to work on today, which is basically more comic drawing and a lot of thumbnailing. And yeah, the iPad is so amazing that you can take it anywhere and take your work with you. It's awesome. So I'm going to take you with me on these little errands. I'm at my parents' house. Already had breakfast with them. And so now it's time to get back to work. While I was at the car maintenance place, I thought I was gonna do some drawing there, but instead I was listening to music and working on my fantasy romance story. And I'm pointing to my phone because I'm still in the outlining phase for the rest of the story. And for outlining, at least this super early, helicopters are really loud. I'm trying to figure out just overall how the story is going to wrap up. And for that I'm using Notion. And what's great about Notion is that you can switch on your iPad, iPhone, or on your computer. So I was literally just figuring out more outline stuff on my phone, which is great. My goal for that project is to actually write it completely in November's Grand NaNoWriMo. But leading up to that, I have to have a clear-cut outline. So I want to get all of that brain dump, ideation, plot, all of that done by November. But now we're gonna move to thumbnails. I'm just gonna work on Girl Night's thumbnails for chapter 2. You know, as I've been working on comics, I've been kind of struggling with writing out sound effects, and I have googled some lists of sound effects, but they haven't been super helpful for me. And guess what I just found at the end of this Nausicaa manga? A list of their sound effects, because they didn't translate the sound effects in the actual manga. See? They left it Japanese, so they added a section in the back translating those sound effects, which for me is great because then I have a whole database of sounds. Some of them are really cool because to denote like whir, another lululu. So cool. Inadvertent resource right here. It's 8 o'clock. I have day job tomorrow, which means I have to get up at 5:30 in the morning. So that means by 9 o'clock I already need to be winding down and getting ready for bed. But I kind of switched gears today by working on this old cover for my fantasy romance story. That was not in my plans at all. But I was cleaning out my Procreate files and I saw this, and here we are. I've been at this for like 2 hours, having a grand old time continuing to paint this. I was also thinking that I don't really have artwork for this fantasy romance story, and if I keep talking about it in my channel, I should have a better image to display instead of this, which most people aren't gonna know what the heck they're looking at. So I figured if I can finish this painting, or at least have a nice version of it semi-completed, I'll have a much more interesting visual that people can associate with my story. I've talked about that story before in my channel, but just to give you a brief update on it, it started as a short story about a woman who needed to find out who murdered her wife. In working on this short story and her journey on this magical train to meet with this dangerous wizard, it ended up being into like a deeper story with a lot more backstory, more characters. There's more worlds that the magical train touches upon. It ended up being a lot more than just a short story, and before I self-publish the short story, I decided to write the entire story, which is, I've already broken down, at least for this vague outline, there's 8 novellas. If I want to self-publish each novella continuing the story, I don't want there to be big gaps for readers to wait. I'm just gonna write the whole thing first before that comes out into public. I will write the first draft for NaNoWriMo this November, so I think I'll be able to self-publish this next year. And it's gonna be fiction, so not that much artwork, not a graphic novel, but I think I will draw a few illustrations inside, more like objects and stuff, something fun and not too distracting with the story. So yeah, there's an update. I've written 3 of the 8 novellas so far, and I feel pretty good about them. Another really loud helicopter. Okay, so it's Friday, already 9 o'clock, so I haven't obviously vlogged for the day, but what I did today was a day job, and then when I got home, I continued to draw out the thumbnails for chapter 1. So technically I've thumbnailed chapter 1, but on paper. So now I'm transferring that information onto my Clip Studio Paint file. And what's interesting about this process is that, yes, it's an extra step, but it's helping me catch certain awkward paneling or unnecessary paneling. I'm not sure if this is just because I haven't thumbnailed in a long time, so I'm kind of a noob at this, and so I'm doing a lot of mistakes that an amateur comic artist would do. So it is helpful for me to have all these extra steps to kind of catch myself making these mistakes. But in doing so, it's taking forever to get chapter 1 done. But I am a pretty patient person, and to me, I'm seeing it more as a learning experience. So I am taking away a lot of lessons in this process, even though it's taking a lot longer than I would hope for. This evening, I left off on page 14 out of what I've already thumbnailed as 18 pages. So technically I only have 4 pages left to really sketch out and marry myself into this format. So not too much is left, but it's been an interesting process, and I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely comfortable yet, and I don't think I will be until maybe 3 chapters into the comic, where it'll take a lot less time to ideate the scenes and the paneling. I don't know. It's still a pretty painful process. I hate it, and it takes forever, and it's also not exciting to show on camera. So I just wanted to check in to say that this is what I'm observing. Amateur mistakes, but I'm catching them. So it's the next day, Saturday. I already worked my day job. I hung out with my friend's dog because I'm also dog sitting for them this weekend. And it's already 5 o'clock. Have I done a lot of personal work? I have, just not artwork. I did some more research, and as much as I really like Ko-Fi, I think I'm gonna have to jump the Patreon bandwagon. The time I spent hanging out with my friend's dog, I did a lot of organization and admin stuff on the back end of my new Patreon account. I'm just kind of figuring out, like, how am I going to approach this? What do I even have to offer that would be valuable for anybody who would want to support me? So there are a few things, or there are a lot of things that I would love to share. I just need in my head to put some structure in it, so I feel like once I launch it, I have kind of a steady groove on how to continue to provide all those benefits, if that makes sense. So I got to work on that, and I'm back. I think I'm going to make a little bit of coffee because I'm very sleepy. Today was crazy at work. Not just crazy, it was pretty stressful, so I really needed like extra downtime than usual. But I feel a little better now. Not enough to actually go back to working on art. This apartment is a mess. I have this long list of home chores to do, and every day I keep not doing them. It's like eating at my soul. Just to show you the mess that I'm talking about. This is my desk. It's a lot of stuff. This is our dining table, which, since we hardly use it, it's now storage for random stuff. That whole section is for donations. This I always put on the couch because I'm allergic to cats, so obviously I own a cat, so I put that when I'm not sitting on the couch. It'll help me not get allergies. So it doesn't make the apartment look very nice, but I don't have to be taking allergy pills as much because of it. I also need to dust. Everything's really dusty, and I need to clean the floor because it's been a while. And also change the sheets of the bedroom. So there is a lot of chores to do, and I cannot continue like this. I am a very neat person, and it really bugs me to have this around me when I'm trying to focus on art. Like, it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna feel good about it. And Jonathan is out working on a sale, so I really should just do it so that when he gets home, he can come home to a clean, organized apartment and he can relax, and maybe we can hang out on Sunday together in a clean apartment. So it's really just like, it needs to get done. So I'm gonna play some music, focus on getting my list of chores done right after coffee. Morning. It's Sunday. It's already 9 o'clock. I've been up since 6, walking dogs and helping Jonathan load his truck, so I am finally able to sit down and continue to tackle this comic stuff. I've been trying to figure out how to explain it to you because it's hard to explain, at least for me. I have a certain vision and I'm not achieving it. That's the gist of it. What kind of vision am I trying to portray? Well, that's also been kind of fuzzy because I thought I wanted it some way and then I changed the format because it wasn't working, so I realized, I want it to look a certain way. And I decided on doing it on a normal manga tankobon size, right? But as I was drawing these pages to experiment on all that, I realized that I could compress the story in less pages, that if I can push as many panels as possible in a page, I can decrease how many pages are needed per chapter, because this is a very long story and I am concerned about page count. So that means we need a bigger format than this. American comic size is the standard here, but I don't like it. It's too vertical, it's too skinny and tall, and I just don't like it. I came across Nausicaa. Boy, am I glad that I found Hayao's manga, because it is very much what I'm trying to go towards. So I got this book as a reference, and I'm really glad that I got the physical copy instead of just referencing Pinterest pages of this project, because now I know that this is way bigger. I actually thought, before I bought this, I thought it was going to be this size. I had no idea that it was bigger than that. And he likes to compress his panels as well, so he can get a lot of story told in less pages than, say, Ranma. Obviously there's going to be a lot of chapters in Girl Night, and I cannot literally afford to have so many pages to not only draw but to print. How does this relate to my current struggle? Well, we've already established, it took me about 2 weeks to establish that I want this size and I want this density of panels. And so with Hayao, his paneling, he can squeeze in like five rows of panels. That's a lot. In manga, the average is 3. For example, like this. 1, 2, 3. 3 rows of paneling. It's generally like 3 to 4, but Hayao really likes to squeeze in panels. It can get pretty busy. And I thought I didn't like that, but upon actually reading it, the reading experience, it wasn't that bad. You kind of do get used to looking at the story or reading it in smaller panels. My concern is that you would get kind of claustrophobia or story claustrophobia, because you can never get like a wide shot or a wide picture, but he does do wide shots, and they're beautiful. So he doesn't shy away from taking up a lot of real estate if he thinks so. Honestly, there's some panels where I would have decided to have done a wider shot, but there's, maybe instead of telling you, I can show you. Okay, so in this portion of the story, Nausicaa enters the Sea of Corruption, or the beautiful forest that the story is known for. So this section is very atmospheric. You're supposed to feel a sense of awe, a sense of beauty, that you're able to explore the forest without wearing a mask, and you can actually just enjoy how beautiful it is. For Hayao's panel decisions, he does take up more real estate than usual. Personally, I would have taken up even more real estate. Like, for example, this panel where the bug kind of jumps up the water and above the main character. I would have taken up that whole width of the page and just made it seem much more grand than stuck in a corner panel like that. I'm not sure why he made these types of decisions. I would love to see a video of him explaining it. There probably is something out there explaining it, but there's a lot of panels in here where I feel like it would have done more justice if they had been wider shots for that cinematic feel that he is known for. And you can tell in his paneling that he understands cinematic compositions, so I do wonder why he felt shy of taking up more real estate. Like, maybe was he told that he could only work with a certain number of pages? But it is interesting to see that he can really condense a lot of story in less pages than, say, an average manga. So I like that. I think that's the direction I need to go with Girl Night, because there are so many chapters in Girl Night. That's probably the wisest thing to do. So if we are stuck on this size and more panels than usual, that means that the way I draw needs to match the width of this line, and that's kind of been the struggle lately, is figuring out what that width is and what the actual digital brush will be. I've experimented with a few brushes and I'm just getting a little tired of having to redraw the same thing over and over. It kind of takes away the meaning and the enthusiasm in that one panel or that one. So I do feel dead inside after the 4th redraw. And let me show you what some of those redraws have looked like. So this is the first drawing that I made of this panel where Alice is saying that she is not going to apologize to the Lord. So it's a little scene of defiance, but once you know more about the story, you'll know that she's actually really unsure of what she's doing. So there's a thin line between defiance and insecurity. I really liked the width of the lines, the simplicity of the details. I don't want this to be overly detailed. I want this to be a pretty simple story. Very much like the way Hayao draws his clothing, and see how there's not that many folds in the clothing? It's simplistic, and I say that with quotes because he still understands anatomy and perspective. He's an excellent draftsman, but he understands levels of detail and he prefers lower levels of detail, and I like that as well. I struggle with still figuring out which details to draw, but regardless. So what I'm trying to say is I really like this. Why did I have to change it? Because when I printed this out, it looked really bad. And this was back when I was still planning on having the story in this size, a smaller size. And so this is pretty much the size of it, right? So there you go. The line is way too thick. It looks like it was drawn with crayon or something just awful. That is not what I imagined. And yet, why does it look way better on the iPad, and yet once you print it, it's different? Look at these. I think the answer is this is the reason why you draw things really large. I'm not coming from a large format here. I'm drawing it almost to size, to be honest. So when it's compressed, it just doesn't look as good, in my opinion. I would even argue that on the camera, it doesn't look as bad, but if you were here in person without the camera, you would agree with me, okay? I also learned that this screen tone is not gonna work because my printer did not like it. It was printing a bunch of squares or that moire effect that we don't want. So I gave up on the screen tones and I gave up on this line width. It has to be thinner than this. So my second attempt, and just so you see the comparison, so this is the old one and this is the redraw. It's a lot cleaner, there's more white space, and the line is thinner. So because the line is thinner, my brain was telling me add more details because there's a lot of empty space, which I think is a mistake on my part. I'm still pretty amateur about it, so I don't like all this detailing, but also her clothes are dirty and it's part of the story as to how they're so dirty and all that. Like, she needs to look really dirty and with ripped clothes. I do have to add details for that. Did I like this redraw? Yes, I liked it right after I did it, but the longer I stare at this and I come back to it, I like it less and less. And it feels like the line is too thin, but we've already discovered that what might feel too thin here is probably just right in print. So I also did the redraw after I decided on making it a larger format. So I figured out the sizing on my iPad that matched the exact size of this. And if I line up the inside cropping, what's going on, kitty? Why are you being so weird? Okay. Alright, buddy. If I line this up to here and like right around here, this matches the true to size page here. And that's because of the cropping. See that? on the screen right now is exactly what it would look like printed in terms of sizing. I'm on the fence. If you'd like to see another example of this change, this is the first version where I used the thicker pencil. When I printed it, it looked like this. I deleted the screen tone and I redrew it with the second version of a pencil. So here you can see that the pencil line width is thinner with more variation and more texture. See that? And this is version 2 of that pencil. I like it a lot more. There are these little details that make it feel more real and less cartoony and individualistic, I guess you could say. He feels more like a real person. Because I have this metal pen nib, it's actually behaving the way I want it to. I tried it with the default Apple pen nib and I was not getting this amount of control. So that's interesting. I'm pretty much stuck with this nib if I decide on going with this brush and those brush settings. So that's been my challenge for the past 2-3 weeks. Redrawing, adjusting, trying to figure out how we're going to create this comic. No pressure, right? Like absolutely no pressure. This is taking a lot longer than I hoped for, but if I take a step back and really see this as what it is, this is a really important step. Comic making is like an assembly line. Once you figure out all the mechanics, the factory building, the materials, all that stuff, and you turn on that button to start production, that's it. You really should not be making any big changes. As much as I do feel bad that this is taking longer than what my pretty little calendar was dictating, I also understand on the other side that this is really important. This is really important. I should take great care in making this decision, so I'm in a constant battle of feeling bad and also feeling responsible, if that makes any sense. So that pretty much has summarized all of my comic work for this week and how I have made progress by finding this pencil brush. Now I need to see if it's truly a sustainable option. Like, can I draw landscapes? Can I draw close-ups? Can I draw action scenes with like the lines and stuff? Can this pencil brush accomplish all those things consistently and not make this artwork look so amateur? It is 9:30. I'm gonna make breakfast and pretty much just work on this today and see where we go. I will keep you updated. If you haven't subscribed to my channel and you'd like to follow my progress on this, subscribe. Click the bell button so you get notified of when I come out with a new video. I would appreciate any support. So from me and Kitty, we'll see you in the next video. Bye!